Okay, so this is Michael Bell reporting back in. Basically, my mom had called me and said that her vacuum smells like dog, which, you know, is pretty common when you have a dog. So this, I believe, is the second generation Shark Rocket, not the first generation. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through and show you how to do a deep thorough clean on this Generation 2 Shark Rocket, and we'll get right into this. Okay, and we got a couple pieces here. This is actually a neat little feature on the Shark that they actually put. This is to hold another attachment onto the wand. We're just gonna, because this is a corded vacuum, we're gonna undo the cord. We're gonna disconnect the motor from the wand extension tube, and then we're just gonna disconnect the head from the extension tube. Okay, first things first, we're gonna disconnect the vacuum container, and she's got some stuff in it, so we're going to empty this out. It doesn't look too bad, however, the screen probably has never been cleaned, so we're going to clean this tank out real good. And we're just going to clean this one step at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean the tank out real good. It's a little hard to get up into everything and get it cleaned out. With the container has basically, as you can see up top, you know, it's hard to get up in here and get this clean. So we're just going to run some water under this and get as much of this dirt as possible just with water. We're going to hit this with Amsoil Glass Cleaner, which is my favorite thing to use for these vacuums. And we're going to let it set for a minute or two. Go ahead and hit the outside too, because we're going to wipe this down and let it set, and then we'll come back and scrub it. Now that we've let the Amsoil Glass Cleaner set, we're going to go in with a toothbrush, and we're just going to kind of scrub everything down. And this is just going to loosen the debris and all the dirt, well, and who knows what else is in here. And scrub it down. Try to get into all the little crevices. And you want to just gently scrub the screen, the metal screen. Don't push very hard on it. And I'm going to go to the outside here and just give it a once over before we wipe it down. Then I'm going to hit it again with glass cleaner, and then we'll run it underneath the faucet. Just let it set and let the glass cleaner do the work. And now that the glass cleaner has set on the container, we're just going to wash it off. Wash everything out. And now we're going to hand dry it. Actually, we're going to wipe up our mess first. I don't like having a real messy area. And we'll start on the inside here, and we're just going to wipe it down and try to get it as dry as possible. And then we will let this thing dry for 24 hours before reassembly, because the filters that we're going to clean need to dry for 24 hours before putting back in the machine, so there's no moisture that gets into the motor of the vacuum. There we go, that's pretty good. Set this aside. And now we're going to move on to the motor head. And actually there's a small filter underneath here that basically is for airflow. It's not a HEPA filter on this vacuum, but they don't really get that dirty, and oh my god, I am mistaken. I bet she's never cleaned this. These usually don't get this dirty, and that is probably going to be stained. But we'll go ahead and wash that as well. But the white fabric is going to be stained because you can actually see that there's no actual dirt that's running out of this. It's just dirty air onto this white filter. So just get this wet and squeeze it out as best as you can, and then let it dry. I'm gonna go ahead and put that cover back on there, and then we'll go to the top side filter, which is really simple to do. Pull off the top, and you've got your pre-filter and then your primary filter. And just like the other ones, we're just gonna get this wet. You want to get this saturated and then squeeze it out, and you can see the dirt just kind of run out of it. You want to flood the foam filter out so there's all kinds of water inside of it. This one's pretty dirty. Or you can get replacement filters if you've had these for a while. Because this vacuum smells like dog, it could be inside the filter or inside the unit itself. So buying these filters, actually, I'll put an Amazon link below. Maybe a good idea if you've owned these vacuums for a couple years. You know, just general maintenance on these things. And we're just going to squeeze this, and this one will dry pretty quick. It's the primary filter that won't dry very quick because it's like a thick cotton compared to this foam filter. So after we get this one, squeeze as much water as we can out of it. We're just going to hang it out and get it to dry. And now we're going to our primary filter, and this is like a cotton type filter. This is the first filter that goes in that needs to be dry. You can actually see that it's two parts here. We're just going to flood this thing out and just keep squeezing it. And just remember, try to squeeze as much as possible because you want it to get really dry. And then we're just going to hang this up as well and let it dry out. And then now on this piece here, we'll just move this motor aside for now, and we're just going to hit this with glass cleaner and let it set. You can run it underneath of the faucet if you want. We'll just scrub it down. I'm probably going to pull these stickers off here. They're starting to get wore down a little bit. And then we'll just run it underneath of the water. And then wipe it down. We will just clean filter every month or loss of suction may occur. Rinse and let air dry completely. Tap loose dirt off filters between washes as needed. Okay, I bet this vacuum hasn't been cleaned in months. Okay, now for the body, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just get the towel just damp enough. Just damp, and we're gonna go through where there's also dirt coming in for the air filtration along the sides. Just enough to grab the dirt. But not enough to drip moisture down into the unit itself. And then we'll actually just kind of spray the body down and give it a good clean in here. And pull this bottom cover out. Go ahead and wash it out. Wipe it down too. We'll just let all that dry separately and move into the head unit. Actually, before we move into the head unit, now that our towel is kind of wet, we're gonna just wipe down the wand. The wand isn't really dirty, but we're just gonna give it back to her nice and clean. Now for the head unit, basically you just have a roller on the bottom side here, and we'll just take the plate off with a screwdriver. It's really simple to unlock it here. And remove the plate. Actually, you can access the belt here too if the belt is broken. I've never personally taken one of these apart, but I'm not real sure if I want to, how far I want to take this here on tearing this thing apart. So we'll try to clean it here without removing the roller. And because of the hair that's caught on it, we're just going to take our razor knife like I use in my other videos, and we're going to cut the hair and then pull the hair off of the unit the best that we can. There's actually some hair caught in the roller where the belt is. And seeing how this is made, I'm gonna be comfortable cleaning this and spraying this down. There's a little port here that'll go into the belt, and this will be where the motor drives. And I think I could do this without taking it totally apart, but we're going to take it totally apart. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I went out to the garage and got some screwdrivers, and we're going to basically take this thing apart, and there's quite a few screws here to do this. So we're going to take the screws and set them aside so we don't lose them. And I'm not real sure how many screws there are. And it appears that there's different lengths of screws. The ones on this head here are a little smaller, the ones in the front, than they are on the back side. If you haven't seen my other vacuum videos, in the description below is a playlist. Go ahead and check those out. Even if you have a vacuum that you're thinking about buying, I might be working on one so you can see how it comes apart before you buy one. And then if you do buy one, there's links in the description below that really help me out financially if you buy them through the links. Any purchases through the links helps me out, guys or gals. Okay, it looks like we got a few more here. These vacuums, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get these vacuums cleaned out. And we dropped a screw. We want to pick that up. And don't be afraid to take this apart. Just take it slow if you're going to take this apart, and just rewatch my video step by step. And we're going to take this apart and put this right back together without skipping any steps. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. And once we get this plastic piece off, it'll actually show, I'll be able to show you how to, I'll actually be able to show you how to change the belt if you ever break the belt on this thing. I don't really think, I think these two screws on the end here are for the wheels, but we're going to go ahead and remove them. Okay, it appears that the two screws for the wheels are smaller, so make sure you keep an eye on these. Those are for the wheels. And then you have two smaller screws that were for the front and the rear. The front and the rear, which will hold this plastic piece on there. So those need to be set aside. The rest of them are all the same length that come out of the body of the unit. I think we'll just, unless I missed one, which it doesn't look like I did, they just kind of snap these things together. There we go. So now we go into the internal of the vacuum and we'll get all this cleaned up. You can actually see that dog hair had made it to the inside of the vacuum. And there's just a few more screws here. And these are probably going to be smaller screws if I had to guess. What we'll want to do is for the LED light bar on this one, I've never taken apart this vacuum. We're going to go ahead and unplug it from the circuit board. You really don't want to pull on the wires. There's a little tab here that you're going to press on and just lightly pull up on the tab. Don't pull on the wires. And we're just going to remove the light bars and set them aside. These actually, this is why Shark goes the extra mile. This probably cost them $1 to make, and Dyson does not put them on all their vacuums. So now we're going to go ahead to remove the plastic cover. We're going to remove the rest of these screws. And as I thought, the screws are smaller for the plastic head than for the body of the vacuum. It looks like there's 4 of them. and this one next to the motor. There's one on the back side here. The one next to the motor is in at a slight angle. It's not straight up and down because of the side of the motor. And I think that's all of them. Okay. Now we're actually, with the belt drive in here, we're just going to take this and set it aside. And then we're going to remove the screw in the side. There's two of them. Now this is going to hold your belt on. If you have a belt replacement, this is also going to be what you're going to want to do. And we are going to very carefully unscrew these two here. And you're going to want to push pretty hard on them to get them out. Just kind of take your thumb and push on the belt a little bit to access this screw. And if your vacuum's slowing down a little bit, you can see that there's actually an accumulation of hair on this vacuum, which is normal. You know, these vacuums are used to vacuum, and you're going to have hair, especially because this is a pet vacuum. And you want to use quite a bit of force on this so you don't strip the screw head. And this is just like putting a belt or a timing chain on an engine, and we're just going to carefully pull the belt off, and we're going to push the motor out and separate it from the unit itself. Now we've got the whole unit off, and we should be able, oh, maybe not. They might have clipped that in. Well, we'll be able to clean the vacuum head now and just leave it how it is. Okay, on this cleaning head, they actually press these plastic tabs. They set the roller in here and put these plastic tabs in there. And to actually remove these tabs, you can use a flathead screwdriver to pull it out if you want to remove the roller. And you'll have to do that if you do a belt change. However, if I remove these tabs, I probably need the replacement parts as well. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to clean it as it sets. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move the motor, put the motor back in its place here, and move the head away from where we're going to be spraying. And we're going to clean everything else off. We're just going to run this underneath of some water. It's going to be very important with this water that this vacuum does not go back together until everything's dry. and we'll just set this aside to dry out. This is our cleaning head, our attachment piece for the vacuum. And we're just going to go ahead and clean this as well. We've got this piece as well, and we're going to just go ahead and scrub it down. I've already sprayed it. Then run it underwater. As well. There's a little foam bristle piece. Just kind of rub it down on the bottom side. We'll set this aside to dry too. Now we're going to do the roller. I'm just going to take the brush here. Try to get underneath of the clear plastic so we don't have to remove the roller. Now there is one thing that people might say, I'm not real sure. On the end of this roller on the inside are actually bearings, and they're going to say, oh my God, you got it, the bearings wet. Well, they're sealed bearings, so I'm not super worried about them getting wet if they're sealed, which they are. We're just going to rub this down. We're going to hit it with glass cleaner pretty heavy here and let it set for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to run it underneath the water. Okay, now that the glass cleaner has penetrated this, we're going to run the water through it onto the roller and get all the dirt and debris off of the unit and the clear casing. If you don't take this apart like this, you'll never get that clear casing clean. And then we're going to just allow this one to dry as well. We're going to go ahead and set this in the sink like so and let it dry overnight, 24 hours for the filters as well, before we put it back together. The one thing I did see here was that there's a buildup of hair on the motor itself, and this will actually cause the buildup of hair onto the motor here will actually cause the vacuum to operate more slow. Look at this, how you don't think that this is really get up in there, but it's like a lawnmower. If you get something caught, a towel or something caught in a lawnmower blade, it'll shut the mower off, or the mower may start running funny. It's the same thing with these little engines and these hairs. The hair buildup can really affect the operating of the unit itself. So before this goes back together, we're gonna try to get as much of this hair as possible, and there's more there than I thought. And I don't think I can get the razor in there, because you're gonna have to cut it if it won't pull apart. People don't realize like actually how tough hair is. Hair is really strong. The majority of it off. knife. Something with a little more of a point. I would say if your vacuum isn't turning as fast, you either have a worn out belt or this is your problem, is you've accumulated hair on the shaft of the motor. And it's affecting the turning speed of the vacuum. Get it all off there. Okay, now that everything is dry, we'll get this back together. Okay, now we're going to get this puppy back together here. And what we're going to want to do first is put this belt back on. And we're going to put the engine back on and slip the belt on before we go any further here. Actually, this is a little tricky to do this. Okay, once we have this lined up, we're going to go ahead and put these two screws in here just to hold the plastic down. Actually, just the one screw. Oh, see, the belt slipped off. If the belt slips off, just turn it and it'll get the belt back in place there. And make sure that the belt is turning on the motor. And then we're going to install the screws back into the motor. Actually, I think the best thing to do is go ahead and put this screw in here that's at an angle back into the housing first. Here. To line up our two screws to the engine, to the motor, I'm sorry. There we go. We're going to just press down a little bit with our fingers on that belt and put this first one in to the hole. Now don't get it all the way tight, just kind of thread it in, and then come on this back side here and get this screw put back in here. Like so. And then that will give the correct tension on the belt. I gotta go get my other screwdriver. And I'm back, and we're just gonna tighten these screws up and then replace all these screws that we have undone. There's only a few here on this side. We're just going to roll this brush and make sure that that belt is turning on the motor, which it is. Okay. I think that's all the screws that we had on this side. So we'll go ahead and get our plate, which was our cover here. Oh, we got to put our LED light back on. Our LEDs. That fit in here, just like so. Then we're going to plug our plug back into the circuit board. Like so. You'll hear it snap in and run the wire how it was. And there's actually little grooves that this LED strip runs in, like so. And we're going to put our plastic cover back on. Actually, you want to make sure, see these wires here, these wires need to be down and kind of in on the motor, like so, to put this plastic cover on so nothing gets in the way. We're going to flip it over and then reinstall our screws, our large screws. We'll start with these on the corner. Which were our large screws. And remember, we had some smaller screws that went in the front here. And then another smaller screw that went in the back here. Actually, a lot more screws than I anticipated here. on this vacuum. We've only got 2 screws left. On the back side here. And again, with this assembled, we're just going to turn the brush, make sure that the belt is running okay, which it is. Then we're going to reinstall our plate here. Lock this puppy back in. Bam! All right. Oh, now that we're all cleaned up, bada bing, bada boom. Go ahead and do the simplest part first. We've got our exhaust filter. Which actually goes in like so. We've got our canister. We're going to go ahead and put our canister back in, nice and clean. Then we're going to put our primary filter in, our secondary filter, reinstall the lid, bada bing, bada boom. We're going to hook up our wand, hook up our head. Let's see if it works. Okay, let's plug this puppy in. See if I'm as good as I think I am. It's hard being a master of the custodial arts. We'll turn this puppy in and we'll know right away if that belt's on straight. Hey, look at there. You can hear it just running better. It don't smell no more either, like dog. Okay, and I'm all finished up here. And please don't forget to check the links below. Thumbs up if this video helped you, and check out the vacuum playlist in the description below. I'm usually working on motorcycles and four-wheelers on my YouTube channel, but I'm actually generating a little bit of funds from the vacuum. So keep watching and subscribing. Thank you.